Yeah, I'll start and then I'm sure Cathal will come in. Thank you very much.
Right, lad.
Thank you very much. So, Minister, there is no precise up-to-date data regarding the number of survivors of abuse in residential institutions who are still alive today, but I can tell you that they are not getting any younger. And so we all need to work together to get this bill enacted quickly. And that to me is of the utmost importance. As of the 31st of December 2015, the Residential Institution Red Cross Board had made awards of compensation to 15,579 survivors. These survivors, along with any survivors who obtained a similar court award or settlement, would be eligible to access support provided for under the bill, and that is really welcome, because what happened, I believe, Minister, wasn't enough, and I think this is really important in this bill. Regarding the support to extended survivors' education, with grants ranging from 5,000 to 2,000 to survivors who are engaging in further and higher education, it is important, Minister, that we realise that according to the Ryan report, residents of these schools were provided with inadequate food and clothes, cold accommodation, poor hygiene facilities, poor standards of education and physical care. And what they had was industrial training that served the needs of the institution, not the child. So for many survivors, Minister, school is not a place that they would intentionally revisit. And while some survivors may avail of this, many are older and have health issues. Minister, maybe now we could look at some kind of a pension plan for them and ensuring full access to the medical card system. The Mandolin Laundry survivors were given a full pension which recognised the work they performed during their incarceration, as well as an enhanced medical card. They have held these now for over 10 years, and anyone in industrial schools have no such privileges, even though they worked as children as well. I still have issues with doctors charging patients for bloods on medical cards when they shouldn't, and I would not like to see this happening to our survivors. We have to accept, shameful as it is, that some survivors are living in poverty, may have mental health problems, and that some survivors are homeless and socially isolated. This package of support under this enhanced medical card intends to allow survivors to access to GP services, drugs, medicines, home nursing and home help, dental, ears and eye services, counselling, chiropody, podiatry and of course physio. But my main question, Minister, is have we people for these services? I mean, we know ourselves there's a huge issue for recruitment going on in the HSE for the demand, but we have to make sure that these services are there for the survivors. And I think that's the one thing we've learned today. To get this legislation through as quick as possible is of the utmost, but we need to make sure that we have those services there. Recently concerned a constituency of mine who used the chiropodist clinic in the Shamrock Plaza, they were telling me, as far as they know, there's no one appointed to run the clinic there, and that they fear it might close. Again, it's only speculation, but I may check it out. But that doesn't inspire confidence now, Minister, so that, you know, if these services are not, you know, being kept open, I mean, we need to make sure our survivors get all these care that they deserve, and they more than deserve it. Some survivors are telling me that somehow their medical card might be different to others. This is the enhanced one. So I'm just kind of trying to get information on that now, because as you know, the average age now for survivors is 69, and their numbers have dwindled, and so most of them, they would have the general medical card. So I'm just trying to find out exactly about this enhanced medical card. One lady said to me, she said, Jennifer, I would just be afraid that I'd stick out like a sore thumb when trying to access anything medical, as it will be obvious that only people who are in institutions or in mother and baby homes or whichever institutionalised carry these enhanced cards. And I think we have to be very mindful, while this is so welcome, but we just don't want to have it that they feel that, you know, that they might stand out. So I'm going to try and get more information on that. And the other thing I want to ask about is about accessing housing supports and the importance that, you know, survivors is given a priority. I know particularly to do with grants and a roof, windows and doors, maybe a bathroom adaptation grant, a bedroom. Like, we really need to move quicker on that. That to me is another huge issue that I felt we didn't do right by. We didn't, you know, I think we should have made these issues a priority. The other thing I want to ask about, Minister, is since the Birth Information and the Tracing Act came into effect in October 2022, TUSLA has received over 7,200 applications for birth and early life information. It has provided information for around 5,400 applicants. Yet I am receiving complaints that people are waiting close to 12 months to access their records. Again, Minister, that needs to be addressed urgently. Over 5,700 applications for TUSLA tracing services to find relatives and only 1,600 allocated to a social worker. I know we have a social worker recruitment and retention crisis, and we need to do something about this because the survivors had waited long enough. Again, TUSLA said when the legislation was introduced, they didn't plan appropriately as such. They didn't predict the volume and the scale in such a short time frame and demand. Again, Minister, we're hiring additional staff to get the backlog of cases. I know that you're working across the board, but I just need to know, and the survivors need to know, that we are there, and when, that we give the best support and the best of care that they need, that they should be getting. I also spoke to a survivor recently, and look, I've been working with the survivors, and I suppose like previous speakers, we all have heard stories and we have to be very mindful, but they're telling me now that they're holding a protest on the 11th of May at the Sean McDermott Street. This is another concern of survivors of the industrial schools who had no dialogue on the future housing of their history. Again, and I can only say this, Minister, survivors have to be listened to. We have to have communication, information, and that's the only way that all of us here together will get this bill through as quick as possible, because we, as a government, we need to get this through, all parties. We need to deliver. As I said, our survivors, they're getting older, and for their families and everything, we need to get this done as soon as possible. Thank you very much.